from the Ticats Audio Network. This is the Ticats This Week.
Ticats This Week. It's Rick Zamperin. It's Simoni Lawrence. It's Matt Bucknor. Week number 5 of the CFL season as the Hamilton Tiger Cats get set to take on the Argos in Toronto. Friday night, you're going to hear the game right here on the Ticats Audio Network. Pre-game show with Bubba and Matt kicks off at 6:30. Kickoff itself is at 7:30. Before we get into it, we have some juicy topics on the pod today. Let's get to the updated CFL standings. We'll start in the West, where the Rough Riders are 4-0, Bombers 3-0, the Stamps 2-1, the Lions 1-3, and the Elks are 0-3. And in the East, Montreal now 3-1, thanks to the Tiger Cats. Hamilton alone in second at 1-2, and the Argos and the Red Blacks at 1-3. Elsewhere in the CFL this week, we have the Bombers in Calgary Thursday night. That's a 9 p.m. Eastern Time start. Of course, Hamilton, Toronto, the QEW rivalry, the Battle of Ontario, will kick off on Friday night. Saturday at 7, Montreal hosting BC, and Edmonton welcomes Ottawa on Sunday. 4 consecutive days of awesome CFL football action. One lineup note as well to pass along. On Tuesday, Hamilton released defensive back Suraman Bagayogo. 27-year-old appeared in 13 games. Last year, he made 1 defensive tackle, 8 special teams takedowns as well. He was on the practice roster to start this season. First and foremost, let's get to our first topic of the day. And I like these kind of topics because we don't know where Sim's going to go. We don't know where Matt's going to go. I don't know where I'm going to go, although I have it written down. But the Ticats finally grabbed their first win of the season last Friday night. Matt, we'll start with you on this one. What person, what stat, what moment from that game stood out most to you?
I hate to just only pick one, and I'll do only one. I'm going to do only one this time.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with, honestly, the play from Johnny Augustine. I thought he provided a real big spark at a lot of different spots of the game. Had a couple big catches, big runs. He kind of ignited a few big drives for Hamilton. And of course, we talk about next man up mentality for his number to be called, and especially with Greg Bell being down. Of course, that's like one of their top backs. For him to come in and fill that spot right there, and then perform at an elite level. I got to say, I'm going to turn my hat off to Mr. Johnny on the spot, Mr. Johnny Augustine.
Yeah, he had 15 carries, 49 touchdowns, almost had a rushing touchdown, if not for Najee Murray.
Yeah.
3 catches, 63 receiving yards. That's a good night in the office for any running back.
Absolutely.
And especially a guy who was thrust into the starting role. He did very well. Simoni Lawrence, who's your one-person stat or moment from last Friday night that stood out to you?
I can't give y'all one because I didn't give y'all one last week. I told y'all it was going to take everybody to win this game. So I can't give you one person. I got to give you the stats and the numbers on why we won this game, Rick.
Okay.
Can I do that for y'all?
Bring it down.
Let's see it, Sam.
All right. What did we talk about last week? Bo Levi completing passes, right? What did Bo go this week, y'all? Bo went 25 of 31. That's putting him at 80%. You're going to win a lot of football games when your quarterback is 80%, and then he's 2 for 2 in the red zone in a defensive game, 2 for 2 in the red zone, where Montreal was 1 for 2. McLeod Bethel was under 50 or like 56% throwing the football, and he threw the ball over 41 times. They did not have a running game. So that's pretty much like this, fans. Montreal could flip a coin, and something good or bad was going to happen for the Ticats. Whereas Bo Levi sitting at 80% throwing the football, you're not going to lose many games, and he's not turning the ball over. Not going to lose many games like that. And then your stars was being the stars. What we say, you find a player, keep feeding them, keep feeding them. Tim White had 10 targets, y'all, and he caught 9 of them for an 8.7-yard average. That means he's 90% when he is targeted, and he's getting you a guaranteed 8.7 yards. You're going to win a lot of football games like that. It was simple. And let's not talk about the defense because that's just too easy. 2 touchdowns, okay, 2 touchdowns on defense, that says enough. But even more important, how they had this quarterback flipping a coin and not know if he's going to complete the ball or throw an incompletion. So the defense bodied them on that. And then special teams, oh my gosh. They went 3 for 3 on big plays. And what are big plays? They're the ball inside the 10. That's a big play. Every time they got the ball inside of the 10, there was a turnover on defense. One time it was Jamal Peters with the interception after the got that big tackle by Ternowski. And no, by when he kicked the ball out on the 1 yard line. And then after when Ternowski got the big tackle, we scored a touchdown. And then the fake punt, 3 for 3 big plays. And in games like that, that's how you play together. And, I had to break it down in the number for us because it was simple football, continuity football. Everybody played together. And, they won the hitting battle, and it wasn't even close.
They were so physical that
all
game.
Great statistics and anecdote. Yeah.
No,
yeah, it's like they was listening to the show or something. You feel me? It's like
forget the pregame music. They had the Ticats This Week podcast on. They're like, we got to win the hitting battle tonight.
So.
Hey man, you'd be surprised what you could motivate when you talk about it.
Here's a number that stands out to me, and it's not really relative to last Friday's game, but a cumulative effort for Bo Levi Mitchell, and that's the number 100. To get 100 wins, 9 other quarterbacks in the history of this game have done so. He did it the fastest in 143 games, 141 and 2 all time. That's pretty ridiculous. The guy, when he's on, is on. He was on last Friday night. It took him a little while to get there, but he made some big plays. Was finding Tim White, Kenny Lawler a couple times, spreading the ball around. Johnny Augustine, 63 receiving yards. So he was finding his targets. And as you said, Sim, if he's on 80%, the Ticats are going to be a tough out the way the defense has been revving up their engines over the last couple weeks too.
Absolutely. It's going to be hard to beat them because they're all playing together. The offense isn't turning the ball over, and the defense is playing confident football. Whenever you score 2 touchdowns, Rick, it's going to carry over to weeks and weeks and weeks because in your mind, you always know that, hey, man, we can win this game ourselves. Let's go score some touchdowns. This was a fun game to watch. Like, I don't know about y'all, but it was a fun game to watch for me. I love this game. The only person that wouldn't like this kind of game is an offensive player.
And the thing too, Sim, just to add to that too, when you talk about, you mentioned how much confidence is built because now when you go into these next games, just like who's next? Who's going to be the next guy? Who's the next one to get it? Okay, Verasuk, you had yours. Verasuk, you had yours. Okay, what's his name? The DN. Oh my goodness, why is his name run off that?
Julian Hauser.
Hauser, thank you. Hauser, he got his. Yeah. Come on, who's next? Who's it going to be next week? And so that and we've all been a part of defenses like that where the teams are putting up that units are putting up points, and it does go right into that next game. And so I'm excited to see what these guys do.
And this is the key thing. And this is the key thing in football. Football is like a big chess match. Everybody gets their moment, and you got to capitalize on your moment in the football game. And every time we had a chance in our moment, we capitalized. You're talking about Johnny Augustine after we got the ball down there on our first touchdown drive. We capitalized. We had a good screen pass. The receivers was blocking. Everybody was doing their job. Big gain there, over 20 yards. Then we ran the ball. They opened up a gap so big we could have put all of Hamilton, Barton Street in there itself. You know what I mean? Went right through that thing. So then we're on the goal line, and they look like they're about to steal the momentum, but Coach Milanovic did a great job understanding this is our moment. We can't settle for 3 right now. This is our moment to make a play for our team. It's going to be a stingy type of day. You could tell by how the defensives were playing. So he took his shot, understanding that they were in man-to-man. Kenny Lawler starts on one side, flies all the way across. They don't switch it up, and then he scores a touchdown. That was the offensive moment of the game. You know what I mean? And then defense was playing great, solid, physical football all day. But their moment was when Verasuk got the interception and scored the touchdown. That was the moment of the game. Special teams. Oh, they was not getting let out of this one. They said, well, you know what? We're going to take 3 moments. They accounted for the fake punt that got them 3 points. They accounted for an interception that took a possession away. And then they accounted for a touchdown after a huge tackle inside the 10-yard lines. We won our moments,
And
y'all.
when we talk about special teams, I gotta give a big time shout out to Tanowski too, because he came out and he was playing with his head. His hair was on fire that game. Big tackles, that the fake punt, that was to Tanowski too. Tanowski making his plays when his number was called, and 88 is he's showing out every week, every single week. From the beginning of the season, we've been mentioning his name on special teams, and this is a wide receiver playing gunner. This isn't just anybody. This is a wide receiver playing gunner, and he's playing physical and he's playing fast. And so, yeah, big shout out to Tyler Tanowski for his play.
He from
And you know
Hamilton, though. You feel me?
it.
He got it's something.
It's
He
in the
from
water, man.
Hamilton. That's how it is. I'm telling you, it's like there's certain places that thing in the water, and you know what's expected. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Sim, a couple of weeks ago, you mentioned the term complementary football. And just before we get to our second topic today, I brought that topic up to Deshaun Amos at after practice on Monday. Complementary football. The defense did their job. The offense came out, scored some points. Special teams got the ball back, made some big plays. It was almost as if one unit wanted to outdo the other unit to get back on the field, make a big play, support their teammates. It was great to see.
Yeah, and that's the most exciting part of football because everybody want to see, 100 and 100, let the score be 100. No, that's not football. That's offensive domination. You know what I mean? This was pure football where everybody got to participate in this competition. It's like, this is a chess match. Coach Milanovic struck first blood by scoring the first touchdown. So he won his battle, his one-on-one battle with Coach Monson on scoring the first touchdown to get everything going, jacking and moving. And then on defense, we're causing turnovers, and then on offense, we're not causing turnover, or we're not turning the ball over. So we're winning that chess match as well, too. And then when you add the 2 defensive touchdowns, they don't get 2 defensive touchdowns. We're hitting their quarterback. It's just, yeah, man, this was great for real football. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, this was my kind of game. This was like everybody got to participate. You got to see nobody was cheating. Everybody handled their load. Nobody was cheating off nobody paper. Everybody was uplifting each other. It was a big competition. And I got defense won the competition just because those 2 touchdowns. But offense capitalized on all of their moments. Like we talked about that red zone. Being 2 for 2 in the red zone, 100%. Come on, baby. And when your quarterback's 80% throwing the football, come on, baby. And when your star players getting targeted 10 times, catching it 90% of the time, getting you 8.7 yards of carry, come on, baby. And then you got your running game going. You're giving the ball up. So now your quarterback gets to relax even more and stay around that 80% because Augustine's taking 15 carries and then he's getting 3 yards, 3 receptions in the passing game. That's 18 touches. That Bo doesn't even have to worry about, and somebody's being efficient. That's taking the load and everybody doing their part, man. Woo! Yeah, Rick. Competition football, baby. Let's get to it. Hey, and happy Canada Day, but you want to know what's even more gangster? Yesterday, first day of practice, they could be all on their high horse. They got their, they got their first win and stuff. What they out there doing? They outside in pads. I was watching them do one-on-ones. Like, our first teamers were doing one-on-one pass protection. They're working on the fundamentals, doing things that you do every day in football with the pads on. Ain't no easy day. There's continually to get better, and that's what you can do when you got a young team. Everybody wants to get better, push and get better. And, man, that was just fun to watch, too, yesterday in practice.
In pads and in the rain, too.
Let's get to it. You know what I mean? It's Canada Day today, but yesterday they was preparing for it. Now we got the sunshine.
I hear ya.
Because of the Hamilton Ticats.
Ticats aim for their second win of the season this coming Friday night. Tiger Cats pregame will kick off at 6:30, and the game will kick off itself at 7:30 right here on the Ticats Audio Network. Devin Veresuk, 8 defensive tackles, a special teams tackle, an interception return for a touchdown. Simoni, how high is this guy's ceiling? Because everyone after the game was raving about the rookie linebacker. How high can this guy go?
He can go to the moon. The thing about football, Rick, any professional football player that has the opportunity to start and play and develop film has the opportunity to go to the absolute moon. The only thing that stops them is what happens on adversity. how do they respond to the adversity when it hits them in their career or in their personal life? Because everybody that's a professional starter has the opportunity to go to the moon. It's just about who can consistently continue themselves to the moon with all of the adversity that's eventually going to happen around them. So does he have the opportunity to do that? Absolutely. It's just you need to make sure that when the ebbs and flows come, you still remember who you are as that player. Like, this is my first game, and don't let it be like, oh, this was just a one-game wonder. This is now your standard. And the cool thing and crappy thing about that being your standard is people get used to that, So it's like, 9 tackles, a pick, a bat down. That's the standard for 21. So if you come in the season and you get 5 tackles, that might be good for somebody, but that's not the standard. We need to see you get the ball out, run to the ball, fit people up, 9 or 8 tackles. Once your standard becomes your standard, you got to keep it as a standard. There's no room for anything else. So, like, my standard might be up here. Somebody else's standard might be up here. Somebody else's standard might be up here. But, like, your standard has to be your standard. And it's okay to maximize your standard, because your standard could be up here and you can still overtop that. But as long as your standards stay up here, you can go to the moon, baby.
Matt, does Devin remind you of anybody? And what do you think his ceiling is?
Yeah, I love that you said that he can go to the moon, Sim. Because the sky really is the limit for Devin, and he's just, not only was he saying a lot of the right things, like we had the opportunity to talk to him during the preseason, and he's talking about his preparation and the way he's taking care of his body, and then we talked to him after the game on Friday night, and he was saying how he stayed home, or he stayed in Hamilton, I mean, during that bye week, and was in the film room, and he's doing all these little things. He's already talking like a pro. Right. And now it's like, okay, that you got to continue this. You got to continue this trajectory, continue to keep working on your game, working on your craft, doing, not only saying the right things, but doing them too. And he does remind me of a handful of people. There's been like a handful of really good Canadian linebackers that have played the game. So Mike O'Shea, you hear like Enoch Mwamba, there's Kevin Iben, there's a lot of guys, a lot of dogs, but one guy that in particular that he reminds me of, just with his work ethic, and of course, and that they wear the same number, is Alex Singleton. And so there's a few connections there too. With Coach Monson also worked with Alex Singleton during his earlier years as a rookie, and helping him transition into the Canadian game, because it is a transition, learning a lot of the different nuances, the drops, his reads, his keys, and then understanding that. And so he helped Alex Singleton through that. And now he has another young talent with Devin. And I'm seeing a lot of comparisons with that, even just their prep work. Alex, I was very fortunate to play with Alex when he was in Calgary during his rookie season, and that guy was a true professional. He was a rookie, but never carried himself like one. And he was one of the first guys in the room. He was always in the film room. He was always doing all these little details. Sim, you know what it takes when it comes to the details and the prep work, and he was one of those guys. And just, again, I don't want to crown him already after one game, because of course you have to stack the wins. But I just, if we're going to compare him to somebody, I'm going to say Alex Singleton.
Yeah, and let's remind the fans too. Yeah, it's only been one game, one CFL start, and a brilliant start at that. But names like Iben, Singleton, Mwamba, O'Shea, like these are elite guys, and they hit their ceiling, and some even crash through it. So he's got, let's knock on wood, Verasuk has years to go to get there. But so far so good. Let's see what the next game and this season brings for him.
Absolutely.
Head coach Scott Milanovich said after the game, it was good for us to get a win against a really good team. Sim, is every win is worth 2 points, obviously, but does beating a team like Montreal, they were unbeaten, they were riding a high, does beating a team like the Alouettes at that point in time mean just a little bit more?
Absolutely. They were playing like the best football team in the Canadian Football League in our division. And, they were like, let's not get it misconstrued. It's hard to win football games, So every time you're playing a football game, it's hard to win. So you take all of the wins. But when you do it against an unbeaten team, that defense is just on fire, sending all kind of different blitzes and pressures, it feels good in the locker room. You want to beat the best team. But we do know that there were certain things that might have not been there for Montreal to be able to perform at their best. So in the back of our head, we also know that we want to go show them that we'll beat them with their starting quarterback there and their receiver. It doesn't matter. And the type of game that we played, it didn't matter if their starting quarterback was in there or not, because we were playing some good football, team football. And I said all the time, our best is good enough. But to answer your question simply, absolutely. When you beat the number one team, everybody understands that you belong, regardless of what else is going on in the league. That's the number one team. We can beat them when we play our type of game. And to their point, the offense is probably like, man, we weren't even clicking the way we want to click. But I was like, we could probably put like more points up, so they still know there's room for them to grow as well too. Absolutely. Because there is some like on all, I think we went 3 for 3, like our offense, defense, and special teams. I think we won all of those battles against Montreal, but I feel like maybe the offense might be like, you know what, we could have got some more points out of that, because there were some turnovers that happened that was right in the red zone. So there were still plays that could have been made that they know that they could still win the game and like be better at, and they still won the game like easily. So it's room for growth for everyone. So yeah, hell yeah.
Matt meant a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, it's an Eastern opponent. Just I agree with everything that Sim talked about too, and in terms of just like you're playing the top dog, and there's a lot of the talk was against Montreal, and myself included, talking was raving about how great their defense was and how well Davis Alexander was playing, all of these things, and then now, but this is also an Eastern opponent, and so what you want to do, the gap with the numbers were the numbers. They're 0-2 going up against a team that's 3-0. You got to close that gap. Right. And so, and then the best way to do that is to actually beat the team that's ahead of you. And so you have that game, it's got to be circled. The intensity, every game you're intense, but this game here, you're going up against this top unit. You have to close the gap. And now every Eastern opponent matters, because when we get down to the end of the season, you're looking at those head-to-head matchups. You're looking at those games. You're trying to get, Hamilton, they still have an opportunity. They can still run the East, but if you want to get that first round bye. You look at the facts over the last handful of years. The teams that get that first round bye are teams that end up in the Grey Cup. And so it's not to say that other teams can't do it, but you want to work for that bye. And so the way you do that is you got to beat the teams. You got to beat the teams in your division. And these games, I'm with you on that, Rick. They do matter. You have to win get the Eastern opponent matchups for sure.
Yeah, as you both well know, you win that East Division, or if you win the West, you're one game away from getting to the Grey Cup, so it's absolutely huge to finish first. And that was a big win last week against the Owls. This is the Ticats This Week. Rick Zamperin, Simoni Lawrence, and Matt Bucknor. Tiger Cats pregame Friday night begins at 6:30 as Hamilton gets set to travel down the QEW to take on the Argos at BMO Field. Tiger Cats kickoff will be at 7:30. Simoni and I in the broadcast booth calling all the action. Matt, we'll stay with you on this one. And we've been kind of relishing this topic because it has been a hot topic over the last number of weeks. CFL on TSN commentator Luke Wilson ruffled some feathers a couple of weeks ago when he said that the Week 3 game between Toronto and Saskatchewan, let's not forget, a game ended on a kickoff return for a touchdown, Mariel Alford taking it all the way back. 39-32 was the final score. We called that game hot garbage because he said it had too many penalties, too many QB sneaks, not enough explosive plays. And after watching the Ticats Alouettes game, Wilson said, quote, "That was a very tough watch tonight. Few cool moments, lots of bad ball, penalties, and QB sneaks." Matt, does Luke have a valid point, or is he just stirring the pot?
Okay. I got to go on record to say Luke is a good dude. Love Luke. He's another Windsor guy, connected with him over the years, just doing like football camps, all that types of stuff with Luke. But now, I think about the CFL game, and I know he's coming from the NFL, and the NFL, everybody puts it on a pedestal, and it's elite football, and I will never discredit anything that those guys do. They play that game at a high level. I've also watched a lot of NFL football in my day. That's Deion Sanders was my guy. I was a San Francisco 49ers fan growing up, all this stuff. Now, I've also watched a lot of bad NFL games. I've watched a lot of them. So you're playing football. There's never going to be a perfect game. I've never turned the game on, a CFL game, and said that game was perfect. Now the games can be entertaining. There's also been games that I've watched that were, okay, this was a defensive battle, or this was a special teams war. Each game is going to have its own storyline. And I think sometimes you just have to appreciate the game. And so yes, are there bad players? Are there bad plays that are made? Yes. But at the end of the day, like this last game that we watched just now, you saw the energy from Sim. Sim was lighting up talking about special teams play, the play from the offense, the play from the defense. What more do you want in this game? Like honestly, what more do you want from that this type of football game? You had defensive touchdowns, you had offensive explosion plays, you had special teams, big time special teams plays. There were field goals that were kicked. They went back and forth. There was a turnover, then there was another response with a turnover. Montreal was getting theirs. It's football. This is football that we're talking about. I disagree with Luke on this completely. This was a great football game to watch, and I'm not just saying this because I work with the Ticats, but even as a fan, as a football fan, this was a great. You turn the TV on, this is a great game to watch, and I've always been an advocate for the CFL game. I say that if the CFL had the same marketing as the NFL, the CFL would have way more viewership because the game is much more exciting. It's just what's separating the NFL and the CFL is the marketing, and of course now okay, there's also talent too. There's Patrick Mahomes. There's like some of these top guys that are playing at elite levels. There's Lamar Jackson, all these elite players, but there's also players that come from the NFL and come to the CFL and they struggle and vice versa. There's guys that go to the CFL and have a tougher time in the NFL. So the CFL is a unique game that highlights a different type of skill set. And so I think for Luke is just appreciating the game a little bit more and understanding it's football. Like there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be bad games, and that's just how it goes. But there's talent in this league, and I will always be an advocate for this game. And I just want to see it continue to grow. So I disagree with Luke on this game being a tough one to watch because there was so much action in that game from start to finish. So that's my take on the game. But Sim, what you got, Sim? What you got to say on that one, bro?
Let's go, Sim. Step up to the plate here.
Let's be real. It's his opinion. He is an offensive tight end, and his opinion was that was a bad game. If you want to blame anybody, you got to have somebody that can converse that with TSN because all we're getting is one situation, one narrative of Luke saying this is a bad game. And a tight end that played tight end in America, of course you're going to think this is a bad game because if you go in the meeting room after this game, you'll let yelled at. You know what I'm saying? Like all of the extra tight ends that they brought in to try to stop the pressure that was still coming to the field, he getting yelled at for that. Tight end catches his football, gets his minute to shine, tries to get in the end zone. He gets stripped, which is an amazing football play, and all football players love plays like that. But it happened to a tight end. So that's hard for him to watch, too. It's just a lot of stuff being hard for him to watch this game because it was stuff that screen pass, Moxie tackling behind the line of scrimmage. He used to stall block it. He's like, that's bad football. Yes, that's bad football for you when you go to the film room. But for me, when I go to the film, oh, man, we did them nasty. And that's just the thing, yo. If you love football, you got to love everything about football. Like, you have to love everything about football. If you love anything, you got to love everything about it. The good, the bad, the indifferent, because it's part of the game. There's no difference between the Philadelphia Eagles doing the tush push on fourth down, they get 3 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards, and then on fourth down, it's tush push time. The only difference is everything happens faster here. On here, we're like, all right, we're going to get like, 4.5 on first down, 4.5 on second down, and then we're going to QB sneak it. And it just happens faster because it's a 20-second difference between the play clocks. The game's way more faster, and it's way different. It's Canada Day, and I just want to say I'm so grateful for Canada because it helped me learn a new game and appreciate the game on a different level. Because in my head, the NFL's way different. You can't even compare the two. You can't even have the same eyes for the two to appreciate the Canadian game, because the Canadian game is so much different. Like, it's way different, like out of this world different. And then the thing is, whenever you're judging a game, you can judge and do what you want, but you always have to start inside first. You got to say, is TSN doing their best job broadcasting these players and understanding the knowledge of what's going on in the game, being able to deliver to a fan base that really might love football and understand football. So when you're talking to the masses, and you need to be able to deliver this game a certain kind of fashion. So you got to start within and make sure everybody's on the same page. Like when they run a swing pass, you can't call it a wheel route. Or when when a defensive back is dropping in the coverage and he has hooked the curl and 3 goes to the flat and 2 sits down, you don't say stuff like, oh, he has the range, that's why he let him go, because football minds know that that's not real. So you have to make sure you start within first to make sure everybody over there is delivering the game in a digestible fashion. That's something that these kids that love football, that watch YouTube videos all day, that can tell you what cover 2, cover 3 faster than any of the adults, you know, like I'm like one of these little kids, they tell me everything about they know this stuff now. So you can't get on television and just talk. So they have to start within. I think everybody does a great job on the field of running and hustling and trying their best to make plays, because the only thing that you can say that is bad football is lack of effort. That's the only thing you can say it's a bad football game, lack of effort. And it wasn't lack of effort. That was one of the hardest hitting football games of the CFL season. It was so fun to watch. Like, that was one of the best games to watch. And if you're a football fan, like a real football fan, you love that game because you've seen punters kicking the ball out at the 1-yard line. What? Some punter sitting at home, some kid like, oh, I'm going to do that one day. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've seen everything that has to do with football get done in this football game that was just played against Montreal. So I understand. I'm not saying Luke is right or wrong. Luke has a job to do. Luke's job is to say, hey, this is what I believe happened, and this is why I believe it happened. And that's just how he grew up. He's a tight end. He played. Them boys, all they got to do is be over 6'3", be a bit mentally crazy to block out and run into people full speed and run a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, tight, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, relax. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, he's doing a great job with TSN, getting people talking about the game. The thing TSN has to do is have somebody that can combat that and have a debate going back and forth of, hey, he thinks this. Can we get somebody with high football knowledge to tell him why it's not like that? And then that's how the game grows, because now you're having a debate and people can pick sides, and it's just like, everything has to do with competition. If you let somebody walk around like they run everything, then they gonna run everything, and that's the job TSN has to do. They got to do a better job letting somebody else come and say, look, this is why it was a good football game. I understand what you're saying because you played tight end your whole life, but like this, let me tell you why it truly was one of the best CFL football games. Like, you don't like quarterback sneaks? We love quarterback sneaks because you're not always gonna get them. We seen this game, you didn't always get the quarterback sneak. I see that touch push over and over again. I see people in the NFL quit when it happens. You see that we're a yard off the ball and we're still stopping QB sneaks. So what's better football? People quitting because they see the touch push, or people stopping it? You know what I'm saying? So you got to keep it real, too, at the same time. You can look at anything from any angle, but it's all about what you want to project. And our job as media broadcast is to deliver the game in an authentic way, but also pick out the great moments and efforts that the players are doing. Like, when something's just a bad play, okay, that's just a bad play. But you can't say there's a bad game because there's too many players hustling and bustling to make sure that the score is not 100-100 and it's 1-1 in the beginning of the second quarter. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, he's doing his job because that's his job to say what he knows and what he thinks. But TSN has to do a better job of getting a bigger narrative so there's more than one side being talked about, you know. So, yeah, I don't got no problem with what you say because he's just doing his job. I think that TSN could do a better job bringing somebody on there with high level, high knowledge that understands what's going on in today's game, how to relate to the kids, what the kids want to hear about, know about. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, well, I say big team effort. Everybody need to bring it in. Big team effort. Everybody got it, and everybody don't got to be on the same page, but everybody got to be on the same page. It's like when you get in the locker room, being a leader, you like, you know what? We all not from the same place. We all not going to agree on everything, but this is what we going to agree on. We want to win a championship, and we want to get everybody paid. So those are the main things. So if I'm TSN and all the media about CFL football, we're covering this game. What we wanted to do, we want this game to grow as best as possible, and we want these players to be able to be stars everywhere and like showcase this brilliant game that so many people fall in love with. Like my mom and dad watch this game every day, and literally they know Howie Roseman, Andy Reid, and all the NFL teams, but they love the Hamilton Tiger Cats because they fell in love with the game. So you got to give the younger fans room to grow and love the game too. You can't just dismiss the game and say, oh, it's a bad game. You can, but you need somebody else to fight for the other side and say, no, it wasn't a bad game, so you can give people a choice and not just be like, oh, this is bad. Like, that's low-level stuff.
You guys made some
right,
great points on that front. And I'll add this. Being a news guy, I like to deal in facts. So I did some fact checking, and I'm just going to his latest tweet.
Let's go.
His latest tweet. So lots of bad ball is debatable, right? The game can't be 100 to 100, and we certainly don't want 1-1. And at one point it was 1-1 in this game. We were thinking, okay, is this game going to pick up? But penalties. So in the game on Friday night, Ticats had 10 penalties for 79 yards. That's a normal amount, probably too high for the coaching staff, but you're going to get anywhere from 6 to 12 penalties for one team in a game. Montreal had 7 for 68. So not exorbitant. I've seen a lot worse, right? Hamilton last year at times took 13 penalties for 129 yards. I mean, that's terrible. QB sneaks. I counted 3 quarterback sneaks Friday night, all for Montreal. Hamilton did not attempt a QB sneak. It was Ante Milanovic-Litre, a fullback, in at short yardage. You don't know what he's going to do. He did go forward every time, but he can pull back and throw a pass if he wanted to. I mean, there's some creativity there. So, and as we know, it's not automatic every time. I think at the end of the day, Luke has a job to do, and I do appreciate, and I don't know him from a hole in the ground, but I do appreciate him, raising the level of conversation around the league to say, are there rules we should be changing? Should we be doing things differently? The one disappointment I have is that he hasn't offered any solutions to make the game better. It's more of a, this game is garbage or hot garbage, bad game tonight. Let's look at some of the positives and maybe change the things that need to be changed. So I think more or less he's stirring the pot, but it's providing a great platform to have these kind of conversations to elevate the overall understanding of what this game's about and how much better it can be and how great it is right now. So, and one other thing on this is that, in his initial tweet on the hot garbage game, he said in that tweet he didn't blame the players. There's talent on the field. He didn't blame the referees because, they make mistakes, but they make some great calls too. The one thing I got out of it was that it all boils down, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but this is how, reading between the lines, comes down to coaching and play calling. Not enough explosive plays. Too many, nickel and dime kind of passing. We see that in the NFL too. We see that in every football league. At the end of the day, it's got to be a chess match because you're trying to outwit the opponent. You can't be throwing bombs on every play. It's just that's not how the game works. Not if you want to be successful.
Yeah, right.
And that's not how it works in Canada. And to understand that, you have to understand the ebbs and flow of the Canadian
100%.
game. You have to have been following the football game to understand what happened. Why is it like this? You know what happened, Luke? This is what happened in the Canadian game. You know why people aren't just coming out and bombing and throwing 100 corner balls like Ricky Ray used to do from like 2013 to 2016? Because people started figuring it out. We were running deep-ass cutters all for like the past 10 years. You know what these D coordinators said? Don't let nobody behind you. Nobody has the patience to drive down this field. And not only does anybody have the patience to drive down this field, it's an imperfect game. Mistakes are going to happen. So let them do that and let them make the mistake. When you're hitting a quarterback, you're talking about bad balls. It's not when you're hitting the quarterback's going to throw bad balls. McLeod Bethel was getting pressured all night, sacked twice. So, yes, bad balls come out, not because it's bad football, but just because he's been getting hit too much. He doesn't know where the pressure is coming from. He's antsy back there. There's other high-level stuff that you can mix in to talk about why this is a bad situation. It's never, oh, this is bad football. It's a bad football because somebody is making it bad football, and you have to highlight the person that's making it bad football. When your Montreal start point is in the 10-yard line, 2 yards in the game, that's bad football. But why is it bad football? Because one play, our punter kicked it out on the 1-yard line. The second play, our gunner beat their gunner and tackled him for a 4-yard loss. So you can say bad football, but you got to give the why it's bad football. And you got to be high level and be able to articulate yourself on the football knowledge of the Canadian game to do that, you know? So it's like he just need more reps. Yeah. That's all. He just got to get his eyes right. He need more reps.
And just to add to that too, guys, it becomes like a dangerous narrative because the CFL already has that. Like, if you were to talk to just a regular fan that just watches sports, they're gonna say, when you mention CFL, they're like, oh, it's bush league. Like, they're gonna say things like that, you know. But that's without understanding. But that's without understanding. You know what I mean? But like, if you were to have somebody to help promote the game, so like to me, to go on and say that it's hot garbage, all that's going to do is it's just going to repeat. That's just going to become a narrative that people are going to continue to say. So let's change the narrative. Let's change the narrative, and then that's what's going to help bring the game up. That's what's going to help bring more fans. That's what's going to help. You know, you want guys like Luke's. I understand. I agree with you, Sim. Luke's doing a job, but at the same time, like the job is to promote the game. The job is to promote the game. It's to help elevate the game. Now, if you see something, if you see something, call it out. I agree. Like, we're not just going to sit here and just be dishonest to the fans and say, oh, you know, Hamilton's playing good, and then when they're not, you know what I mean? Or when teams are playing poor, you want to call it out, but at the same time, you could do it. And I love what you said there, Sam. You got to do it in a way that it's going to be digestible. It's going to be something that people are going to say, okay, you know what? This was a bad game, but we can be better. Like, there's ways that we can improve this game. So
it's always about the whys.
Yeah,
it's always about the whys. And I'm not saying it's not Luke, because Luke has a job to do. They brought Luke in to be a personality and do what he knows how to do. I'm saying it's TSN that needs to bring another. If you have a personality like Luke, you need another personality that could match that energy, because everybody else going kiss the ring, you know what I'm saying? Just because they like, oh, yeah. They don't got the confidence enough to go and say what needs to be said. Everybody wants to be friends and he, ha, ha. But the only way you get anything better is by competition. Right. And that goes in the football field, in the business office, in the scouting department, in media, in broadcasting, all of that. You can't just kiss the ring. Everybody got an opinion. That's what sports is. Everybody think they got the best opinion. And then our job is to say something and then combat it with something else. But as long as you're, to your point, we're bringing this game up, because this the bacon. We all robbing from the same train. Like, he not out here reporting about this game. If this game go away, then this is some money that he not getting. You know what I'm saying? So everybody is robbing the same train, so you can't rob the train and then diss the train. That you stealing money out of your own mouth. You hustling backwards. What are you doing? You know what I mean? So you got to do everything with a little bit of common sense behind it. Like, if I say something's horrible, I'm giving you the reason why it was horrible or what made it horrible from the other aspects, so everybody can get their love. Yeah, he played tight end. So he don't like that kind of game because the tight ends necessarily did not have a good game, and in those situations, he's used and he's programmed to be like, I'm going in the film room, man. We're gonna get yelled at. This was a bad game, bro. We was fumbling the football. We was bringing in extra people to protect the quarterback. The quarterback was still getting hit. It's just a lot. So I get it. I get his perspective, and he's not wrong. But TSN has to do a better job getting another voice that could talk about that, hey, look, I know I'm expensive, but
wink.
Y'all can talk to my people. I'm expensive, though. Y'all know I turn all of everything down, but you know what I'm saying?
One last point on this before we move on, because we are going to talk about the Argos and Ticats game on Friday night, is I'm looking forward, like many CFL fans are, looking forward to seeing where this conversation goes, because from Luke's standpoint, there's a fine line here as well. There's going to come to a point where if he continues to bash the game, he's going to be, termed a negative Nelly. And everything that comes out of his mouth, right or wrong, many fans are going to perceive that as, oh, here's Luke, bashing the game again. So there's going to come a point in time, I'm not sure how soon or how far that is, that might happen.
Rick, it's not his fault though.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah.
He could do that. It's just the producers over there have to give somebody that make him more digestible. Because if you got too much of anything, it's going to kill you. You got to balance everything out, and that's the leadership's job. He's just the talent. Leadership has to put him in the best position to make his place. This is the kind of broadcaster player he is. How can we make him more digestible so we're not just hearing the same thing? Come on, bro, bring somebody to talk. You know what I mean? Like, me, Rick, I always go to the leaders first. You know what I mean? Got to start with them, baby.
I feel you. Ticats and Argos both coming off their first wins of the season as they get set to face each other this Friday night in Toronto. I'll remind you, Tiger Cats pregame begins at 6:30 with Bubba and Matt kickoff at 7:30 from BMO Field. Matt, how do these two teams stack up against one another?
They stack. I'm saying this game it's advantage on paper. It's advantage Hamilton. But again, the games aren't played on paper. The games are played in the arena. So going into this game, you have to respect. You still have to respect. You're not playing the record either. And this past week is also an indication. It's like a real good example of that. It's not a 1-3 versus 1-3. These are two good football teams. Toronto, they're the defending Grey Cup champions. We can't forget that. There's a defending Grey Cup champions, and they have a guy over there, Nick Arbuckle, who is also a guy that's he's had his ups and downs. We'll say that, right? He's had his ups and downs.
He's lunch meat for the
But here's the thing. You can say that, but the man, he's won games, right? He's won football games.
Yeah.
And so he's won. He went into a Grey Cup. He went into a Grey Cup. He became a Grey Cup MVP. So there's certain things you can't deny certain things. That's what I'm saying. Like, you go up to these games, and these games can sometimes almost be one of those we call them like a trap game. Right, where it's like, okay, we're playing Toronto. They're a little down and out. But you're not playing the record. You're playing the team. You're playing the team. So they do stack up. That I'm saying on paper it's advantage Hamilton because Hamilton's offense to me is a lot better than the offense in Toronto. Toronto's defense is a little. I think they're just trying to find their identity a little bit, especially in that back end with some of the new pieces that they have in the secondary.
Yeah.
But again, even with that said, they have respected defensive coaches that are over there that know how to put guys in position. They had a co-coordinator situation that's kind of almost like it's like unprecedented. You don't really see a lot of that, and they wanted a Grey Cup doing that, and so they know they have a good system there, especially with Dinwiddie leading them. And hearing it with Hamilton, though, I think they match up well. I'm saying again, advantage Hamilton just based on the offense and the way the defense is kind of they're starting to click a little bit more, right? But it's a week to week. Every week has a different storyline, and so what's the storyline going to be this week going up against the Argos? But I like Hamilton's matchup here.
I'm glad
to answer your storyline. Matt, the storyline is we're going against the same team that we just played. If you watch the Montreal Alouettes and the Toronto Argonauts, Montreal Alouettes without Alexander, they are the same team as the Toronto Argonauts with worse defense and worse special teams. You know what I'm saying? Like Montreal would be 1A, and then Toronto would be 1C right now, where they're at right now with their football team. Where Arbuckle is not getting games done. Like, Arbuckle's not winning games. He's throwing interceptions. His completion rate is low. Like, they have to find their identity. It's going to be tough. Their starting quarterback is not playing football. So they're going through the same thing right now that the Montreal's going. So they're playing the exact same team. And the way that the Toronto Argonauts are winning games, they're winning games. They scored 2 touchdowns. They fumbled the football. Ottawa fumbled the football in their red zone, took it back for a touchdown. They missed some more points, took that back for a touchdown. So you got to look at the way that they're winning games as well, too. If I'm the Hamilton Tiger Cats, we can't say nothing that much neither, because we still have to find our identity, because you ain't do nothing until you did it multiple times. You know, one time you can always just say it's good luck. You got to win. So they're going into this game like, yo, this is our opportunity to get on this winning streak and keep winning these games. We got 3 East Divisions opponents in a row. We already knocked out who we thought was the number one in the East. Now we're going to the defending champions, but you know how football is. You can't live off of what you did in the past. Everything is week by week, day to day. We don't care what you did in the past. What's up with you right now? You know what I'm saying? And right now, advantage Hamilton Tiger Cats. And the Hamilton Tiger Cats have to go in here understanding it's advantage Hamilton Tiger Cats, but their best is all that's good enough. So we need to get better and show how we can improve. So, like, what if we don't get 2 touchdowns on special teams and on defense and miss a field goal? So we need to show that we can win games without the big plays, because you're not going to get big plays every single week. That's not the way football is set up. So, like, I think that we're going against a team that we're very familiar to seeing, because I think Montreal, the way Montreal played is the same way Toronto's going to play. I know Toronto's going to run the ball a little more. That's one thing Montreal did not do. They did not run the football. They ran the ball probably like Thomas Erlington had 2 carries for 1 yard. What's his name? Casey Sales stopped the one, and they were just all over in the backfield. Toronto is going to commit to the run game right now, because they're not going to let Armbuckle throw the ball 41 times. That'd be crazy. That's not the kind of quarterback he is. That's not how they won the Grey Cup. In the Grey Cup, they were giving the ball to Carey, the little dink and dunk. So, like, the Hamilton Tiger Cats understand what kind of football game they're going to get into and going to be playing. And I think they do understand that they have the advantage, but they just have to go out there and prove they have the advantage, because this is a game that the Ticats should win, because we just did the same thing last week to a much better football team.
I remember, Matt, I'm glad you brought up, throw the records out the window. Because I remember being a kid and being like, how does a team that's like 5-12 beat a team that's, 11-7? And
Right.
It's every given Friday, Saturday, whatever the day is, every game is different. And I always evaluate a game-by-game basis as, how are the quarterbacks playing? Are there significant injuries like we saw last week with Montreal, starting QB, number 1 receiver out of the action? And, the matchups. How does Hamilton's offense stack up against Toronto's defense? And Hamilton's defense against Toronto's offense? And how does the special teams break down? Like, who's got the edge? And then you can kind of lean one way or another. But again, mistakes, turnovers, penalties, those all factor in to each game. So it's going to be, I think, an entertaining game Friday night. BMO Field should be a good crowd with lots of Hamilton fans in attendance. So looking forward to seeing it. Last topic today, and Sim, we'll start with you. How quickly in your Tiger Cats tenure, so you're suited up in black and gold, how quickly in your Ticats tenure did you learn to hate the Argonauts?
Rick, I come from your block is your block, your block is your block. Like, everybody that grew up on my block, we the best on my block. So anybody else from another block, they not better than us. So as soon as I got here and found out we had beef, because, I went to University of Minnesota. I grew up in Philadelphia, and our rivals was the Iowa, Wisconsin. We don't like those guys. So when somebody tells me rivalry, and I'm a football player growing up in America, rivalry's like, all right, let's get it. We got to zip them up. And it was instant. I remember this day like it was yesterday. Matt Bucknor was there. You know what I'm talking about. In 2013, my first year, we was playing the Toronto Argonauts, and everybody was like, Argonauts is this, Argonauts is that. So I was like, hey, yo, I talked to JJ, one of the, our leaders on the team. He's the Mike linebacker. I was like, JJ, man, I don't want to hear none of this, like, they this, they that. Man, we that. Let's go on their 50-yard line. So we went on their 50-yard line in the dome that day, and we did the body bag. It's like, I say, zip them up, body bag, zip them up. And I'm saying Ricky Ray name loud so Ricky Ray could hear us and stuff. And, it was that quick. My first year here, we on their neck, you know what I'm saying? Because in rivalry games, Rick, you got to oppose your will in any form or fashion, you know what I'm saying? It boils the game down to the physical, who does what makes sense, call lineman assignment, belief execution. But at the end of the day, you also got to be able to stop, breathe, and just play football. And that's what a lot of guys don't know how to do. You got to be able to be in an environment where it's chaotic as heck, but whoever can stay calm in that chaotic environment and just play football, because all that hooting and hollering, that don't never do nothing. You ever notice in the movies, all the guys that's always, I can't fight? I'm the only person that can fight and be hooting and hollering, right? So, but nah, it was instant. My first day outside, you know what I mean? It was time. It got Rick. it got so crazy. Sometimes I remember in 2016, we opened up the stadium at BMO and was playing down there. And boy, I had one of them games that you could only dream of, right? So I was like, yo, where do I want to celebrate that night? You know where I went? I went to the Argos hosting party where they host their team party.
Well, did they let you in? They wanted your money. That's what they wanted.
I had a good night. They got me.
Oh,
I had a
man.
good night. We was partying with the odds.
Oh,
I remember
my goodness.
it was me, Emmanuel Samuels. I think Speedy B pulled up. I was like, yo, let's go party with that party.
Oh,
What's up,
my
yo?
God,
We did a
that's
good
hilarious.
game. Let's go watch the highlights with them.
Hey, Matt, how quickly in your
Oh, my
Ticats tenure
gosh.
did you
That's hilarious.
hate the Argos?
You know what? So for me, it's so funny. Oh my gosh. But for me, it's so growing up, like I grew up in Hamilton. So I knew about the rivalry the entire time. You know about it all the time. You know it's gonna be Labor Day. Labor Day is the big one. Labor Day is the big one, especially when we were those days back at Ivor Wynn Stadium, those times. But yeah, right when I made the team. They talk. They're always talking about it, and then you know who doesn't let you not hear about it is the fans. It's the fans that actually get this thing really going. And so I know when you get down to BMO or when the fans they come down to they're going to be at Hamilton Stadium. The Argos fans, well, not too many of them actually make the trip because they don't really travel like that. It's usually the Hamilton fans that are making those trips. But regardless, it's the fans that really get this that rivalry going because you know they'll have the face painted and they got the signs up, Argos suck and all this. So it's definitely it's a game that you get up for sure. But yeah, you don't have a choice. The fans don't let you they don't let it down at all.
Yeah.
You don't got a choice. You don't have a choice. Because, look, this is the thing about rivalry, yo. You're not the only person in the rivalry. It's not just this football team versus this football team. I mean, that's the ultimate game that's going on. But now you got our mayor might bet their mayor. Your barbershop in Hamilton might bet their barbershop in Toronto. Their club might be, it's so close proximities that everybody is betting or putting their energy towards who they want to win for bragging rights. That's another thing. We way too close. So I want to make sure when I'm going to the same spots downtown Toronto or in Hamilton that them boys like to go to, that when they watching highlights, all they seeing is belt to butt on the highlights. They be like, oh, y'all won tonight? Yeah, we won tonight. I don't come out unless we won. But if you see any Argonauts players, don't let them in here tonight. They lost. What they going to celebrate for? That's how I get depression.
If I had a nickel for every time I heard, hey, listen, if the Ticats don't win the Grey Cup, they better win Labor Day, I'd be a millionaire because it is the biggest game of the year. We're still, a couple months from that, but that is the inner season Grey Cup for the Tiger Cats. It's on Labor Day, and beating the Argos on any day is like winning the Grey Cup as well.
Heck yeah. Coach Milanovich did not make the playoffs last year, but he was the greatest coach in freaking no playoff history because he swept the Argos. Right. And that's to show you if you handle a little internal beef, baby, we got a lot of remorse for you.
That beef will be renewed this coming Friday night. Tiger Cats in Toronto to take on the defending champion Argonauts. Tiger Cats pregame with Bubba and Matt kicks off at 6:30. The game itself kicks off at 7:30 on the Ticats Audio Network. A new episode of Ticats This Week drops next week. For Simoni Lawrence, Matt Bucknor, I'm Rick Zamperin. Thank you for listening.
This has been the Ticats This Week on the Ticats Audio Network. Like, follow, and get a deeper understanding of your Hamilton Tiger Cats.